everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Caitlin Hill. Welcome. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button and like and share this video. Okay, you guys, so I've been wanting to make this video for a little while now because this is a really big topic and I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. There seems to be a lot of divide when it comes to talking about being vegan or being a carnivore or whatever you want to call yourself. And I feel like there just needs to be more conversations about finding a place that feels right for people in between, and not having this polarity between what is right and what is wrong, and truly asking ourselves what feels right and wrong for us. And that doesn't mean that just because one person has one perspective about something that everyone else is wrong. It just means that we can have conversations and learn and share, and the more we can have sort of open discussions about it, the more we can become better as a planet. Basically, when it comes to animal products and eating meat, I became vegetarian when I was super young. I was like 5 or 6 years old. I have such a clear memory of being over at a neighbor's house and eating meat and just thinking to myself, I do not want to eat this, and I was so young, and I can remember going back home to my parents and being like, I don't want to eat meat anymore. And, this all coming from just within myself. And it was never extreme. It was just more of like not wanting to eat things that I just didn't feel called to eat. And it sort of grew and evolved and changed. My mom always cooked vegetarian. She would cook some chicken and seafood, but rarely red meat, maybe once in a while. Still always having dairy. And it slowly grew and evolved and changed over time. Once I started getting my period, I became super anemic and started incorporating some red meat into my diet, and I definitely started to feel a lot better from having that iron, a source of iron. And when I was in Italy, I was eating meat all the time. I was eating prosciutto like almost every day, and I started eating a lot of dairy products, and that was fine for me at that point in my life. It wasn't until I became pregnant with Safia that I started having a major aversion to dairy. Like the smell and just the thought of it, I could not even think about dairy. And then it sort of continued to evolve yet again, and I got just like totally turned off by meat. I didn't want anything to do with it. But what ended up happening was when I was like, okay, I don't want to eat animal products anymore, it was sort of like a major decision for me, especially, being in a family where Matisse and I did eat a lot of meat and dairy together and eggs. So, it came as a bit of a shock at first, but I was just really, truly, again, listening to what my body was feeling like it wanted to have. And yeah, it was just a massive shift at that time. And then Matisse sort of started coming at it from like a different perspective. He started researching veganism more, and for him it came down to like more of like a morality issue. He started coming at it from like an animal rights perspective, which I completely, of course, understand. From a moral perspective, I totally get that, because the world of meat agriculture is really dark. It's destroying our planet, and it's really bad. It's really bad for obviously the animals, for humans. It's not okay. Once we started going down that and sort of having, especially once Matisse started having awareness around that, he had never grown up even thinking about where his food was coming from. So for him it was just meat is meat and food is food, and I eat it, and always really good high quality foods, and we've always eaten really well. Matisse comes from a family of chefs, but just like definitely not having the awareness of like what it is that you are choosing to eat. Once we decided to do that, Safia was around like a year old, I think, when we were like, okay, let's become completely vegan, and she had already been eating eggs and I think some chicken and seafood and maybe a little bit of other meat. But basically we were like, okay, we're fully vegan now, and then we were like hardcore vegan. But the thing is that we were still incorporating, like, as much as we were always striving for the whole food plant-based diet, we were still always having a lot of packaged foods, packaged vegan foods, and fake meat, which is basically filled with garbage. Like, it's not good for you whatsoever. I definitely believe that eating an actual meat is much better for you than eating whatever the heck fake meat is made from. So we kind of were eating a lot of like Beyond Meat products, packaged food, packaged products, but just because they were vegan, we were like, oh no, it's all good. Like, we can eat any of this vegan packaged stuff because it's vegan, so it's okay. But then it wasn't until I became pregnant with the twins that I really started to gain more awareness around that, and I just didn't want to have anything that was packaged in my diet whatsoever. So focused a lot more on the whole food plant-based diet, and I was like almost 95% vegan during that pregnancy. I was eating a lot of organic, dark, leafy greens, and focused much more on where the food was coming from, wanting to buy local from our farmers market that's close by, and just grew like so much more awareness around health. And Safia naturally started wanting to eat eggs and fish very much. Again, and at first we were sort of like, oh no, that's not vegan. But then we realized, like, what is this extreme of being vegan and having these like major boundaries around food, of making it what's right and what's wrong and good and bad. And we were just like, you know what, let's not put that on her and allow her to really tune into what her own body is asking for. And her own body was asking for those things. So we were like, okay, she's going to eat those things now. And also, if she's going to be going to a birthday party and there's cake, like, I'm not going to be like, no, you can't eat that cake. Like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to do that. There's obviously a limit when it comes to like sugar and candy and all of the crap that goes into those things. And of course, that's a whole other topic for sure. But then there's also just, understanding that we do live in this society that doesn't have a lot of awareness around health. I think it's just about learning to guide our kids and to tell them, like, that's sugar, that might make you feel a certain way, this is meat, this is dairy, this comes from this source. And having that awareness around it, having conversations about where the food is coming from, I think is much more important than being like, oh no, you can't eat that or you can't have that. So that sort of evolved into that stage. And then later on during my pregnancy with the twins, I started having a really massive craving for raw oysters. And I am not a medical professional, I'm just sharing my own personal story here, but I know you're not supposed to eat anything raw when you're pregnant, and I was like, I just want to have raw oysters, and I was craving like raw fish really badly. I can remember calling Matisse up and being like, babe, you need to go pick me up some raw oysters right now, and just like having them and feeling like I was actually feeling really fulfilled by having it. So that was like a massive evolution for me. And then continuing on, I had eggs one time during my pregnancy. I was craving them, and so I had them, and I continued to listen to that and really tune into like what my body is asking for. and not going at it from this perspective of like, oh, it's not vegan, so therefore I cannot have it. You know, that's you know, there's just two sides to it. There's like this super radical vegan side, which I totally understand and I totally get. But then there's also this side where it's like, okay, my body is craving this, something that's in this particular food. And if I can find a way to have those foods that are in, you know, an intentional way, and, you know, have the knowledge and the awareness of making choices to eat those animal products, and also choosing sources that are intentional sources, like, you know, okay, making sure we're getting wild fish. Like my dad catches fish, you know, to local fish. He caught it himself, and making that choice to have, you know, this fish that my dad went and caught. Or, you know, when we were at the cabin this summer, we were catching, with Safia, we were catching crab and prawns and fish, and I'm making that choice of being like, okay, we know where this food is coming from. We caught this food ourselves and we're eating it ourselves, and making that choice of eating it, knowing where it's coming from. You know, there's the whole other side of that, which I still don't feel comfortable with it, which is like, you know, going to the store where you see a piece of meat and it's like covered in cellophane, and you don't even have that connection of the fact that, you know, this piece of meat was actually once an animal. You know, there's just like such a disconnect with it. And so I think that that's something that we continue and will continue to teach the girls, is like just the awareness around, you know, pork is a pig, and, you know, beef is a cow, and that was, you know, came from a cow. You know, I always want to eat local, fresh, organic food. Now we're at a place where I just feel like I don't want to put any kind of labels on it. You know, I don't know where we will go in the future with that and what we will choose to eat in the future. It's always going to be changing and evolving, but now I think we stay away from the label of being vegan or being carnivore or whatever label it is that you want to put on it. We just do what feels right for us, and continue to find a balance, and listen to ourselves and choose discernment towards what it is that we want to put into our bodies. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. If you haven't already subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and like and share. Ciao for now.